Okay, so one more little video here. This is a mixture of brown sugar to cinnamon. What's the ratio you use?
Eyeball.
My wife said she eyeballs how much brown sugar to cinnamon, but it's probably something like, for a cup of sugar, like a tablespoon of cinnamon. It's way more sugar than cinnamon. So don't do it like half and half or you'll just be chewing on cinnamon bread and gag. So anyway, this smells phenomenal, and I'm gonna show you what I do with it. So I've got my brown sugar cinnamon here, all mixed up. We usually keep a bag of this pre-made because we use it for this, and we also use it come Christmas time for one of my wife's Christmas treats that she likes to make called pie crust sticks. So still doing the same technique that I did before, where I roll out the bread dough to its appropriate shape. This one actually rolled out quite nicely. So the more surface area you have, the more space you have to put on the topping that you desire. So when I'm doing the cinnamon bread, I tend to roll this out a little bit longer. So you can see this is definitely a little bit bigger than I normally would do. So all I'm gonna do is just take it and sprinkle it around. Now, I have also done this before where I take butter. I take some melted butter and I paint it with some melted butter, and you know, it's more melted butter, so it's not like it hurts the recipe. Everything's better with melted butter, but it does have a tendency to make the bread collapse in the middle. And even without the butter, this bread has a tendency to collapse in the middle. And that's just because it gets so much heavier that it collapses in the middle, which is still fine. It just makes it so that the loaves aren't solid in the middle of the bread, but it's still incredibly delicious. So, you know, you can see I really try and put a pretty thick coat on there, because again, this bread will not be for sandwiches. This is not going to be for sandwiches or anything. This is a dessert bread. So it's almost like a cinnamon roll bread. So you do the same thing, you spread it out, shape it how you want, put your cinnamon sugar on there. You put your cinnamon brown sugar on there, and I try and pat it down a little bit, and then I just roll it up. Still following the same technique for rolling it up. A couple little things that I always like to do is I grab my spiral and I lift it up. I take a little bit of brown sugar cinnamon and I shove it into that spiral and pinch it shut. And that gives a little flavor bomb of brown sugar cinnamon right there, which is, as the guy in the house who loves the heels, having a little bit of extra fun stuff right there is a nice little treat. So anyway, you're still doing your karate chop, still folding it, and you're still shaping it into your dog bone, and you're still dropping it in there. Now the other little thing that I like to do is I take a little bit of brown sugar, cinnamon, and I sprinkle it across the top, kind of pat it down, and this does a couple things. A, it gives you more brown sugar cinnamon on the bread, which is great. It gives a little bit of a caramelized, crunchy surface to the top of the bread, which is sweet, but also visually it makes it easier to see that this is the brown sugar cinnamon bread. So I do that for those reasons. You don't have to do that. It'll be obvious because the pan and the side of the bread will have plenty of caramelized melted sugar on it. But anyway, that is how you prep that. And what's great is you've got all these leftover brown sugar cinnamon, and you just grab it, throw that into a little pile, and use that on your next one, and you're good to go. And that is how you prep the brown sugar cinnamon, and there you are. So now I've got them prepped. So those are a couple loaves that are prepped. Here are some loaves in their second rise. They're making good progress. They're getting a lot bigger. And I just put my first batch in the oven, and they're gonna be in there for 30 minutes, 25-30 minutes at 370 degrees, 75 degrees. And you don't want to overcook it. After doing all this work, you don't want to burn it, but 25-30 minutes at 375 should get you right there.